Today's topic is pharmacology of mycobacterial drugs. You might have studied this mycobacterium in your microbiology class. Okay. Oh. So antimicrobial drugs, these drugs covers different mycobacterias which come under the heading of mycobacterium. So you might have studied in your hello. Well, G key, I mean. Mycobacterium, under this mycobacterium classification, there are basically three types of bacteria come under this heading. Some of them are under the heading of Mycobacterium tuberculosis that causes the tuberculosis in human beings, and Mycobacterium leprae that causes the Hansen disease, or also known as leprosy. There are also some atypical mycobacterium that causes non-tuberculous infections. So our main aim would be on Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which causes the tuberculosis in human beings. The typical scenario for this the TB disease comes like this, that a middle ages, 45 years old, poor social economic condition person presents in the emergency department or OPD department complaining of chronic history, maybe of more than month or two, couple of months, history of fatigue, weight loss, marked weight loss, notable weight loss, more than maybe more than 5 kgs to 10 kgs in 2 months, with night fevers, with night sweats, low grade fever, night sweats, and productive cough. This is the typical scenario which can come in the exam for the diagnosis and the treatment of this tuberculosis. Okay. You all know that tuberculosis is an ancient and infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It has been known for centuries. It's not a new disease. There are many epidemics and pandemics happened in last thousands of years due to this Mycobacterium tuberculosis disease. Since TB is a respiratory transmission, so the optimal conditions for these transmission includes overcrowding, poor personal hygiene, poor public hygiene. Transmission is through aerosol. Pulmonary tuberculosis is a disease of respiratory transmission. Patients with the active disease or bacilli expel them into the air by coughing, by sneezing, by shouting, by touching the dirty hands to the different things. Same like the corona pandemic. So there is morphology of Mycobacterium, a brief morphology of Mycobacterium are, yes, Mycobacterium are cylinder rod-shaped bacteria with lipid-rich cell wall that stains poorly with Gram stains, but one stain The walls cannot be easily decolored. Hence, they are called acid-fast. Mycobacterium infections are intracellular and generally result in the formation of slow-growing and granulomatous lesions that are responsible for major tissue destructions. There is a difference between the common bacteria and mycobacterium. The difference is that the mycobacterium, the mycobacteria, uh, the mycobacteria, they basically transmit through aerosol. They replicate very slowly. The normal bacteria replicates after every 20 to 30 minutes, but in contrast to those, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria replicates once or twice in 24 hours. Therefore, the common antibiotics does not have any effect on, therefore, does not have any effect on these TB bacteria. This is the typical picture of acid-fast bacilli of Mycobacterium. This is also the typical slide preparation. This is a chest X-ray which shows the infiltrates due to these Mycobacterium tuberculosis in the apical area of this right lung. They are aerobes and they occupy that area which is highly perfused with oxygen. The apical areas of these lungs are highly perfused with oxygen so that they rely over there. The mycobacteria, basically, they are sensed through certain laboratory investigations. One of them is Montauk's test. This is a typical picture of Montauk's test in which the dead acid-fast mycobacteria are introduced into the skin of the patient, and the induration of this introduced bacteria is checked with this scale. If it is more than 72 millimeters in 72 hours, then that person is positive for tuberculosis. There are many problems associated with chemotherapy or for tuberculosis because it's a chronic disease. The treatment goes for months to years, so there is very less therapeutic. Problems of resistance are seen in the patients who have had prior therapy, means there is a relapse of this disease. Those who has failed to comply means those who have taken the drugs and stops during the disease and haven't completed the actual duration of the treatment or treatment with a single drug. Strategies for addressing drug resistance: multi-drug therapy with a minimum of 2 drugs, preferably bactericidal. If we're not used more than 1 drug, that will cause some bacteriostatic and which increases the resistance in the treatment. Direct observed therapy. Direct observed therapy is a therapy in which we call the patient in the outdoor and ask to eat that medicine in front of doctor or paramedics, so that there should be no problems for non-compliance. Okay, now starting with the pharmacology of antibacterials, classification of drugs. Basically, based on degree of effectiveness and potential side effects, we have divided these drugs into two groups. Number one is first-line drugs, and if first-line drugs by any reason fails or does not give results, then we can choose the alternative or second-line drugs. In first-line drugs, we have 6 different drugs. The order of these drugs remains like this according to the preferences. The first preference for this tuberculosis, for the treatment of tuberculosis is isoniazid. The second preference will be rifampin. The third preference will be pyrazinamide. The fourth one will be ethambutol, and the last will be streptomycin. These are all first-line drugs. The dosage of these drugs is also important. Isoniazid is given as 5 milligram per kg per day. If we multiply 5 with the average weight of the patient, that is 60, it will give us 300 milligram per day. Rifampin will be 10 milligrams per kg per day. Pyrazinamide will be 25 milligrams per kg per day. Ethambutol can be given at 15 milligram per kg per day. These drugs are given in the combination of 2 drugs, or combination of 3 drugs, or combination of 4 drugs according to the choice of the doctor and according to the severity of the disease in the patient. Now these are, if due to any reasons the first line drugs develop any resistance or does not give results, does not give cure for the treatment of that disease, then we can choose drugs from alternative drugs. This is the second group, second line drugs. These are basically antibiotics from different groups, different classes. The antibiotics are from cephalosporins. There are antibiotics from fluoroquinolones, sulfonamides. The important of these are amikacin is given as 15 milligram per kg per day, aminosalicylic acid, which is a folic acid synthesis inhibitor. It is given as 8 to 12 gram per day in divided doses. Ciprofloxacin is a fluoroquinolones, which is given as 1500 milligram per day in divided doses. Cycloserine, ethionamide, levofloxacin. You have to memorize the names, not these doses. Okay, you have to only memorize the names or groups from these second line drugs. Okay, now we have made different regimens for this treatment of tuberculosis. Recommended duration for treatment of tuberculosis regimens are: if we give isoniazid, rifampin, and pyrazinamide in a combined single drug, it is given for 6 months. If isoniazid and rifampin only given, it is given for 9 months. If there is, due to any reason, there is resistance or non-compliance or toxicity of isoniazid, then we can skip isoniazid and we can have a preparation in which there is rifampin, ethambutol, and pyrazinamide that can be given for 6 months. If rifampin is given with ethambutol, it will go further for 12 months. Isoniazid and ethambutol for 18 months. These are all first line drugs. If there is, due to any reason, there is non-compliance or there are no results for the treatment of tuberculosis, and we have to choose the second line drugs, that all second line drugs will be given for 2 years, 24 months. Okay, now we have to discuss about isoniazid. Isoniazid is basically is an isomer of nicotinamide acid, isonicotinic acid. It is a hydrolyzed form. It is considered as the first drug of choice for the tuberculosis, which is discovered in 1945. It is a synthetic analog of pyridoxine. It inhibits the pyridoxine actually. Mechanism of action: isoniazid is a prodrug. It enters into, you can see in this diagram that it enters into the mycobacterial cell as a prodrug. This product is converted into active metabolites, active isoniazid, by a mycobacterial catalase peroxidase, that is CATG. It's a it is a catalase peroxidase enzyme present in the mycobacteria, which converts into its active metabolites. These active metabolites then make covalent bonds with certain proteins of mycolic acid. The mycolic acid is is a chemical which is involved in the structural formation of cell wall of mycobacterium cell. So if there will be no mycolic acid, there will be inhibition of mycolic acid. The mycolic acid, there will be the deficient cell wall of these mycobacteria, and due to these deficient cell walls, there are pores in the cell wall, and due to these pores, the water goes inside the cell and swells the mycobacterium, and due to that increased permeability, the water goes into the cells and swells that mycobacterium, and mycobacterium get burst, and like this it is bactericidal for growing bacilli. This also shows the mechanism of action for this isoniazid. Isoniazid goes into the cells as a prodrug, which is activated by this peroxidase, and which inhibits the mycolic acid synthesis. Mycolic acid synthesis will not form, and which increases the pores in the membrane of cell wall, which leads to cell death. Okay. These mycobacterium cells, tuberculosis cells, are basically very intelligent. They grow resistance against this isoniazid. How these resistance is produced? Basically, the organism eventually develop resistance. The mechanism of resistance is related to mutation or deletion of that catalase peroxidase enzyme CATG, leading to inability to activate the prodrug. Pharmacokinetics of isoniazid. Absorption: isoniazid rapidly absorbed either through oral or given as parenteral route. Drugs is metabolized via acetylation, resulting in the production of inactive but toxic metabolites called monoacetylhydrazine that is excreted in the urine and then hydrolyzed. This acetylation is genetically regulated, resulting in two types of acetylators: the fast acetylators and slow acetylators. Means if the genetic combination of human is as a fast acetylator, that then the half-life in those patients will be less, that is up to 1 hour. If they are slow acetylators, then the half-life will be up to 3 hours. Adverse effects of isoniazid: basically isoniazid, there are two types of adverse effect, direct or indirect. The direct toxicity which these isoniazid uh, due to this isoniazid is buildup of toxic metabolite products in the liver of that patient. Means it is hepatotoxic. The hepatic reactions of isoniazid increases with the age group. That is, they are maximum in the patients who are more than 50. The incidence of adverse effect of isoniazid is more in the aged patients as compared to young patients. Peripheral neuritis is also the most common adverse effect. It is due to vitamin D deficiency, and it can lead to uh, disturbed visual acuity and can also lead to permanent visual loss. It can be corrected with the supplements of vitamin B6 pyridoxine. Other side effects are immunological side effects. It can produce hypersensitivity reactions in which you can write skin rashes, fever. In slow acetylators, it can also cause SLE. Drug interactions of isoniazid. Isoniazid interferes with the metabolism of phenytoins, therefore increasing the activity of phenytoin and potentiating the adverse effects of phenytoin. Okay. Second important drug in the treatment of tuberculosis is rifampin. Rifampin is basically semi-synthetic derivatives of rifamycin. It is an antibiotic. Rifamycin is an antibiotic which is extracted from Streptomyces mediterraneae, a bacteria. Mechanism of action of this rifampin is rifampin inhibits DNA-dependent RNA polymerase of the bacilli, therefore affecting the transcription. Rifampin enter into the cell and it blocks the DNA-dependent RNA polymerase enzyme, which blocks the synthesis of RNA for the replication of the mycobacterium, and due to this, the growth of the replication of this mycobacterium ceases and stops. Metabolism, it also readily absorbed from a GI tract or through parenteral route, and once it enters into the blood, it is conjugated by the liver. It is metabolized by the liver and stored in the bile. And from that bile, it is then again secreted into the intestine and then again absorbed and goes into the blood, and from blood again it goes into bile. That is, it has enterohepatic cycling. The metabolites which are used uh, are excreted through renal excretion, and in small amount, but in large amount they are excreted through feces. Resistance due to alteration of the target enzyme DNA. There is mutation in the target enzyme DNA dependent RNA polymerase of the drug. Adverse effect of rifampicin. Basically, the most common adverse effect of rifampicin is this one, that it imparts the harmless red-orange color to the body fluid. That is sweat. There will be red-orange colored sweat, red-orange colored saliva. There will be red tinge in the stools and red tinge in the urine. But these are all harmless. It only dyes those fluids. The second important adverse effect is hepatitis due to rifampicin. It is conjugated by the liver. The conjugates basically can produce, the conjugate metabolites can produce hepatotoxicity. It is stored in the gallbladder. Over there, due to stasis, it can form stones. It can form cholelithiasis, and the other side effects are GI upset, which can, in which you can write nausea, vomiting, mild abdominal discomfort. Okay, the drug interactions of this rifampicin is important. It is drug interaction of this rifampicin is rifampicin is an inducer of cytochrome P450. So it can decreases the half-life of certain drugs that require P450 for their metabolism. That is warfarin, sulfonylureas, and certain oral contraceptives. Rifampicin also shows certain results against many gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. Also, it is given for prophylaxis for the individual exposed to meningitis caused by meningococci or H. influenza. It is also given in the combination with other drugs for the treatment of leprosy. The third drug, which comes under the first line drug for the treatment of tuberculosis, is ethambutol. Ethambutol is a synthetic water-soluble heat-labile compound. The mechanism of action of ethambutol is that ethambutol enters into the mycobacterium and it inhibits an enzyme that is known as arabinosyl transferase, which is important for the formation of a protein called as arabinogalactane. This is an important protein for the structure formation of cell wall. If there will be deficiency of arabinogalactane protein, the bacterial cell wall synthesis will be deficient, and due to that, it affects as bactericidal drug against Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Ethambutol, it crosses the blood-brain barrier only when the meninges are inflamed. Otherwise, if meninges are not inflamed, it does not crosses the blood-brain barrier. The adverse effects of this drug, the important one is it causes the hyperuricemia, which leads to the gout. It also causes the optic neuritis, which changes the visual acuity. It changes it causes the color blindness in the patient, inability to distinguish between red and green color. It can also lead to permanent visual loss. Okay. The fourth drug in this category is pyrazinamide. Pyrazinamide is a relative of nicotinamide, the class of drugs nicotinamides. It is bactericidal against tuberculosis. Mechanism of action of this drug is not well understood, but it also interferes with the plasma membrane, cell membrane of the Mycobacterium. Must be enzymatically hydrolyzed. Okay. Pyrazinamide is also a prodrug. It is inactive once it enters into the Mycobacterium cell. It is activated by pyrazinamidase enzyme into pyrazinoic acid. The pyrazinoic acid is the active form of pyrazinamide, which leads to, which performs some functions and help in the lysis of bacteria. It is also active against the tubercle bacilli in the lysosomes and in macrophages. Means it is helpful for the killing of intracellular organisms. The half-life of pyrazinamide varies from 8 to 11 hours. It is metabolized by the liver, and the metabolites of this pyrazinamide uh, complex are excreted by kidneys. The adverse effects are, it is also have direct toxicity, which leads to hepatotoxic because it is metabolized in liver. It can also it also leads to hyperuricemia, which leads to gouty arthritis of the large joints. It can also cause GI disturbances, which has symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and many may cause drug fever. Okay, this is a group aminoglycosides. This group basically comes under the second line drugs, but one of the drug, streptomycin, is on the borderline of the first line drugs and second line drugs. So streptomycin is basically the first drug used clinically for the treatment of tuberculosis and was the only drug available at that time. It is an aminoglycoside antibiotic, act by protein synthesis inhibitors and decreases the fidelity messenger RNA and stops the messages, which leads to stoppage of some nonsense proteins. Streptomycin only binds to the 30S subunit of RNA. The side effects of streptomycins are nephrotoxic. This is an important side effect of streptomycin, that is, it is nephrotoxic. It can lead to proteinuria, hematuria, and certain electrolyte disturbances in the body. It is also ototoxic, involves in both hearing and balance, and can lead to permanent deafness of the patient. Hearing is irreversible, but balance is reversible once the drug is stopped. Now the second line drugs, among the second line drugs, we have many groups in which we have also discussed some drugs with their doses. The groups are aminosalicylic acids, fluoroquinolones, macrolides, cycloserines, capreomycin, and ethionamide. So, very brief about para-aminosalicylic acid. And the para-aminosalicylic acid is a structure analog of PABA, is a bacteriostatic that inhibits the bacterial growth by stopping the synthesis of folic acid. Adverse effects of para-aminosalicylic acids are GI irritations due to the amount of drug given. High doses, nausea, vomiting, bleeding occurs in 30 to 40% of hypersensitivity reactions, which can lead to rashes, fever, hepatotoxicity. All will disappear when the drug is stopped. That is, these all side effects are reversible. Ethionamide is also a structural analog of isoniazid, but not believed to be act as on the same mechanism. Widely distributed throughout the body, adverse effects are like those of isoniazid, that is, it is hepatotoxic and optic neuritis. It also causes the peripheral neuropathy. The peripheral neuropathy is basically due to the deficiency of vitamin B6 pyridoxine. Okay, these are all drugs which are for Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then very brief about Mycobacterium leprae, which causes the disease known as leprosy or Hansen disease. This is the typical picture of the patient for the Hansen disease, which is caused by the Mycobacterium leprae. It is treated with a triple drug regimen uh, of dapsone, clofazimine, and rifampin for 6 to 24 months to decrease prevalence. Okay, what are dapsones? Dapsones are basically structurally related to sulfonamides. They are bacteriostatic. They inhibit the folic acid synthesis inside the cell of Mycobacterium leprae, which stops their replication. The dapsones first undergo hepatic acetylations. They are metabolized in the liver and then they are excreted through urine. The adverse effects of dapsones are hemolysis in the patients with G6PD deficiency. They also causes peripheral neuropathy and erythema nodosum. What is erythema nodosum leprosum? It is a serious and severe skin complication of leprosy, which is due to inflammation of the fat cells in the face, arms, and chin of the patient treated with dapsones. Treatment is with steroids, corticosteroids, or thalidomide. These are antibiotics, and these are combinations of antibiotics and steroids if there is erythema nodosum in the patient. We have learned about rifampin, and the third drug which is given in the combination for Mycobacterium leprae disease is clofazimine. Mechanism of action of clofazimine is it binds to DNA and prevent it from serving as template for future DNA replication. It also has redox properties, that is production of oxygen free radicals. These oxygen free radicals kills that cell. It is a bactericidal. Adverse effects of this clofazimine are red brown discoloration of the skin or eosinophilic enteritis. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask.